It's very important to understand how to take a good photograph of your painting. And this photograph is what we put out into the world. It is what represents our artwork digitally on social media platforms, on our website. It is what we use to enter into exhibitions. So it's very important to have a good photograph that represents your painting well. Today I'm going to talk about lighting, editing, how to get a good photograph of your artwork that will allow you to get your work out into the world. I'm going to teach you how I photograph my paintings for social media, website, and other things like that. It's not necessarily for prints. Your printer might have very specific recommendations for photographing your work for prints, and that's not really what this video is about today. When we take photographs of our work, we want to think about a few things. The first is lighting. We want to make sure that we have our painting evenly lit. We don't want a shadow going across our painting, so try to take your photographs in a nice, evenly lit setting. I have a big window behind where I paint, but I also have overhead lights that are daylight bulbs. These aren't crazy expensive lights. They are shop lights that are LED, and I can change the temperature of them. I got these off Amazon. I can't remember how much they cost, but I didn't spend hundreds of dollars on lighting. I got something that will give me nice, even light, and I went with it. Another thing you'll notice about my lighting setup is I have a diffuser. I have two lights set up. I have plastic stretched across that. And what that does is allow the light source to seem a lot bigger and a lot softer. And that gives me a nice, evenly lit surface when I'm painting or taking photographs of my work. Now, if you don't have this, that's okay. Use whatever light you have, but try to make sure that it's nice and evenly lit so you're not casting shadows on your work. Try to not light at an extreme angle. The paper that I use has texture on it, and if I light my painting too far at an angle, it makes the texture look strange. And you'll start to see a lot more of the texture of the paper and not the painting itself. So try to light your painting as directly as you can so you're not creating an odd look to it with the texture that's on the paper. I use my phone when I take pictures, and what you want to do is you want to try to take a photograph directly above your painting. If you are at an angle, it's going to skew things, and when you crop your painting, things are going to look weird. This comes into play especially on the perspective of your painting. So if you have buildings or really straight lines in your scene, if you're taking the photograph at an angle, it's going to skew all of that. When you're framing up your painting to take your photograph, try to get right above your painting and make the edges of your painting parallel with the edges of the screen on your phone when you're taking the picture. That will ensure that your angle is as straight on as possible. Now, if you're slightly off, that's something that we can adjust in the phone. If you can, take that photograph straight on. Now, once I take the picture, that is when I will crop it. And so I go up to the edges of the painting and I crop it so I have a nice, clean photograph. When you finish a painting, sometimes the paper ends up being a little warped and it doesn't lay completely flat on your surface. So when you're going to photograph it, you want to smooth that out so your painting doesn't look distorted. I'll use a small little piece of tape on the edges like this. And then once I take my photo, I just crop those edges out. And that way, even if your paper is warped a little bit, you can still take a nice photo. There are times when I might need to adjust the picture that I've taken to match what I'm seeing in real life on my painting. So sometimes the contrast will be a little bit off. So I can go in here in the app within my phone, just the simple photo app on my iPhone, and I can adjust the contrast, the color temperature. I can take my time and as best as possible, match what I'm seeing with the photograph that I've taken. I'm not making a ton of adjustments, just tweaking a little bit so that the photograph represents my painting as much as possible. Once I have a good photograph of my painting, I can think through where this photograph's going to go. I like to use an app called Canva. There's a free version of Canva. I do have the paid version because there's some extra things on there I like to have. I like to put a nice white border around my painting. And so you can make a template for yourself. So if you have a landscape format or a portrait format, I can already have one saved there. So when I take my new photo, I can bring that in and swap it out and then download that. And so right away, I have a nice photograph that's ready to go on Instagram that's downloaded on my phone. This is also helpful if you are doing some type of progress shot of your painting. If you want to show steps along the way, you can do the same thing. You can take a few photos throughout your painting process. You can pop them into Canva. You can already have a pre-made template to show step 1, step 2, step 3, and then you can download that and you have some really good photographs to now show your process and your final painting. And this is really good in this day and age when you are really doing all of it on your own. You are creating the paintings, but also you are finding ways to market your work, places to put your work, places to upload your paintings, and understanding how to photograph them and then use a tool like Canva to get them in the right aspect ratio and to tweak them a little bit to get them out in the world. These are all important skills to have as artists. Have you ever been really excited about a painting and you get all set up, you find that right reference that you're excited about, and then it's time to go and you feel lost? You ever had that experience? You just are having a hard time finding consistency. Some of your paintings turn out, some of your paintings don't turn out, and you're not really sure why. Well, I have a free resource that I want to give to you today that can help with these problems. My 5 steps to plan a successful watercolor painting. I walk you through the crucial planning phase of your painting that will help you understand what you're going to paint first, second, and third. The planning is really so important, especially in watercolor. This medium is harder to correct. It's so immediate. So having that plan is very important. I send you a PDF that you can download. And the great thing about this is you can have it on your phone, you could print it out, and you can take a look at these crucial planning steps before you start each painting to ensure that you're thinking through these important things as you get started. You can download this right now before you start your next painting. All you have to do is follow this link here and download my 5-step guide to planning a successful watercolor painting.